Okay, Rezero just recently came to an end and you know it was fantastic, but there are probably a lot of you who didn't have enough time or might not have understood everything that happened this season, so here's a quick recap to get you caught up. How the story starts, a visitor arrives at the mansion. Who it is Julius's brother Joshua and Mimi. If you don't remember them, they are part of Anastasia's group. The purpose of their visit was to invite Emilia and everyone to Watergate City of Priscilla on Anastasia's behalf, promising that if she came, they would be provided with the magical crystals needed to resurrect Puck. But while this did sound good, they knew that Anastasia most likely had a motive. Though seeing as one of their goals was to revive Puck, they didn't have a reason to say no, therefore they headed straight there. On this trip we learn from Otto where the royal selection currently stands. A short rundown is that while everyone's standings did improve, everyone but Anastasia has begun to slow down. The reason he brought this up is to say that Anastasia is now not only in the lead, but this trip would also put them in her debt. After meeting up with her, she ended up informing them that the crystals they're searching for is in the hands of the heir to the biggest trading company in the city, Kiritaka Muse. Hearing this information, they went straight there to ask him about the crystals, but on their way there, Subaru ended up getting motion sickness. While this did cause them to get separated, this ended up resulting in him and Beatrice meeting the songstress Liliana. She'll end up being very important throughout this season since she's not only close to Kiritaka, but her singing will also be very important later. After bonding together, she decided she would help them convince Kiritaka, but Subaru ended up messing everything up. This resulted in the deal being ruined. A few seconds later, Emilia bumped into someone. This man will be very important later since he's one of the Sin Archbishops Regulus. We'll go over what he's doing here in a bit, but after Subaru tells him to go away, he leaves saying, when another opportunity arises, fate will bring them back together on its own. Now we fast forward to them on their way back to Anastasia's place where they ran into one of the goons that tried robbing Subaru in season 1. While they were talking to him, a powerful presence was felt by Garfield, which made him immediately attack. Who it turned out to be was Reinhard. This guy's so strong, he was having a whole conversation while holding Garfield in the air, then goes to act like Garfield had a sliver of a chance of actually harming him. After going in the end, we not only see why they were invited, but we also get introduced to the awkward situation between Reinhard and Wilhelm. An explanation of what's going on is that their relationship isn't good is because Wilhelm's wife's death is technically Reinhard's fault. This was because while she was fighting the White Well, he inherited her Sword Saint blessing from her, stripping her of what made her strong. Obviously there was nothing he could do, but this did end up making his family resent him, blaming her death on him. We'll see more on this later, but as for how Anastasia got them all here, was by promising them all information they so dearly wanted. For Cruz, she told her she would discuss the Sin Archbishop of Gluttony who stole her memories. Emilia was regarding the crystals, and she most likely told the others she'd give them stuff they wanted as well. After this conversation, they all went to freshen up, which is where a few different things happened. We see that Garfield was upset with himself that he wasn't the strongest. This will be prevalent throughout the story because not only was this getting to him the entire time, but he was still traumatized by Elsa. He and Mimi ended up spending time together where we would learn more about Garfield, and he would find out that his mother is actually alive. She has a whole new life with a husband and 2 kids. This truly surprised him because he believed she died in the accident after leaving the village, but it turns out that she was saved. The problem was that she lost all of her memories, so she didn't even remember him. After this, we get told by Wilhelm about his wife and what happened between him and Reinhard, saying that he wants to fix the rift he caused between the two by blaming him for his wife's death, to which Subaru convinced him to try. The next day, he genuinely tried to bond with Reinhard, but his son Heinkel ended up getting in the way. Heinkel is Reinhard's father, and here you can see that he's genuinely not a good person. The whole time, he was just provoking everyone and showed just how bad his, Reinhard, and Wilhelm's relationship truly was. It seems that he really hates Reinhard and doesn't plan on passing the Astrea estate to him. Emilia did end up shutting him up, but we find out the reason he was there was because of Priscilla. She saw this whole situation as nothing more than entertainment and wanted to cause chaos. We see Subaru absolutely blow up at her, but after this is where all the chaos happens. We get introduced to the first Sin Archbishop of Rav, Sirius Romanticanti. She starts off saying nothing but nonsense, always ending with sorry and thank you. What was weird was that after she started talking and even said that she was a Sin Archbishop, everyone was acting weird and accepting her. What was even crazier was that even when she held a boy named Lucibel over a ledge, everyone accepted it and told him not to cry. It was obvious here that something weird was affecting them all. This was caused by Sirius's ability that allows her to link the emotions and damage across multiple people. This can be done after sharing her emotions. With this, we encounter Subaru's first death. Subaru would then go on to die over and over and over again trying to save Lucibel until this last loop, where he got the help of both Beatrice and Amelia. Amelia stood on straight business, striking Raph first, but this turned out to be ineffective. This fight actually surprised me because I didn't know Amelia could fight. She was single-handedly pushing back Raph until she used the hostage to her advantage. Because of this, it looked like Emilia ended up getting burnt by Raph, but another Sin Archbishop Regulus ended up saving her. He spoke nothing but nonsense as well, also saying he was going to marry Amelia. Getting that out the way, he was completely unaffected by Sirius's flame. The reason it couldn't hurt him was because of his ability that we'll see later that allows him to stop the flow of time of his body, making him practically invincible. While he did end up saving Emilia, it seemed that he didn't plan on letting her go. While this was happening, Otto was also dealing with the Archbishop of Gluttony. Going back to the fight, it seemed that the Archbishops didn't get along. Sirius was trying to burn Regulus because he was holding Emilia, which is when Subaru saw this as a perfect time to try his and Beatrice's new technique, EMM. It's an ability that allows them to go through objects and not get hit by attacks. This allowed him to get an attack on Regulus with his Shadow Fist, but this all proved to be useless because he did negative damage and became too weak after using this. It seems that the Archbishops were on a tight schedule, so they ended up leaving, but not before Regulus blew off Subaru's leg for his disrespect. We then go to Garfield where he's bonding with his mom, and we see just how much this whole situation is weighing on him. Going back to Subaru, due to healing Subaru's leg and everyone else, Bayako was in a deep sleep. Also, the fact that the Archbishops were in the city, Otto was missing, and Amelia got kidnapped, they decided to have a meeting. The important information you need to know is that there were multiple Sin Archbishops in the city. The Witch Cult had taken over the 4 control towers that could flood the city at any time and were also making demands. What they wanted were the witch's remains that were somewhere in the city from it being flooded a long time ago to kill her. The Gospel Book Otto had and Beatrice. They wouldn't ask for the final 2 until later, but while this was happening, Garfield was searching for his brother and sister with Mimi, which caused them to run into 2 cult members. At the same time, Felt was captured by Reinhardt's dad. Going back to the meeting, they were discussing the Witch Cult's demands. They were talking about the witch's remains, which confused Subaru since the only witch he could think of was the Witch of Envy for some reason. Here's where they explained that the Witch of Envy wasn't the only dead witch, and that the witch under Watergate City was actually Typhon. There were multiple other things that were confusing them, such as why they wanted these items, and why the Sin Archbishop who was demanding them, Capella Emeralda Lagunica, had the same name as the princess who lived and died over 50 years ago. After this is when 2 things happen. We get informed that Mimi had suffered a bad wound due to the members of the Witch Cult her and Garfield were fighting, and Capella was broadcasting again. She was threatening them by harming people over the witch's remains. She'll end up demanding the Book of Wisdom and the artificial spirit later, but the problem with handing it over was that they couldn't move it, and if they did, the whole city would fall apart. With everything going bad and Amelia missing, Julius questioned what Subaru planned to do next. Would he chase after Amelia or help them get rid of the media that has been terrorizing the city, since this media was filling the citizens with despair? He ended up deciding to help them, which is when their plan came into action. Their plan was to take on each one of the cult members in groups, but if they found themselves at a disadvantage, they were to retreat at once. This plan didn't really work out because the cult members were too strong, and there were 2 archbishops there. One of them was one of the Gluttony brothers, and the other was Capella, who transformed into a dragon. It seemed that no matter how much damage was done to her, she seemed to be able to heal it with no problem. Just as they decided with their plan, the 2 cult members were left to Wilhelm and Garfield so he could avenge Mimi, and Julius, Subaru, and Krusch went to go confront Lust and Gluttony. Later it's revealed that the 2 cult members are the past sword saint Wilhelm's wife, Theresia, and the other is Kurgan, the strongest swordsman of the Wallachia Empire. They ended up getting resurrected by the cult. Before we get to these fights, we see that Amelia truly has been captured by Regulus and he plans on marrying her soon, asking a question he sees as vital. Also claiming that she'll be his 79th wife. Basically, all his wives are like robots who show no emotion because they'll be punished if they do. They will be important later, but we see that Julius, Subaru, and Krush encountered Gluttony. Subaru really wanted to get his get back for Rim, but Julius told him to remember his goal and leave Gluttony to him, giving him a name that is absolutely wild that they've been calling him Little Girl User. The reason for not saying his name is because they were warned by Al to not tell Gluttony their name. It's because Gluttony has the ability to eat the name and memories of their target as long as they know their name. Sticking to the plan, they end up encountering Lust, who absolutely tricked them by turning into a little girl, and we see that the people she was harming earlier, she actually turned them into flies. As her name implies, she's a bit of a freak, also calling them meat scraps the entire time. But one thing I can say is that she seems actually unkillable. This plus being able to transform her body into anything she wants makes her extremely strong. They stood absolutely no chance. Not only did she rip Subaru's leg off, but she also poured dragon blood on the both of them. Legit everything was going wrong, everyone was getting beat, Raph attacked Anastasia, and the city was flooded. We do find out later that Al was the one who flooded the city, but all there was left was pure destruction. It looked as though they had suffered a complete loss, and Subaru drifted off during the flood due to the dragon carrying him away for some reason. With absolutely no idea why it was activated, probably because of the dragon blood, but this led to him meeting up with Priscilla. Here we see that Subaru's leg that was ripped off actually ended up being healed due to the dragon blood. While it was actually disgusting, it seems that his leg has gained healing properties. The same can't be said for Cruz though, since it was doing nothing but harming her. Subaru was later able to take away most of her curse, but what the situation was now was that Lust not only demanded the witch's remains, but also the two things I said earlier, the Book of Wisdom and the Artificial Spirit. The Artificial Spirit was most likely Beatrice, and Otto had the book after repairing its burnt remnants from the sanctuary. While this was going on, it was also announced that Amelia's wedding was about to happen. Unlike past times, Subaru decided he's not going to give up, and we see that Priscilla is actually strong. She easily folded multiple demi-beasts. To show Subaru just how bad the situation was, they ended up going to a shelter where we see that things are really bad. Everyone seems to be affected by Raph's ability, which is when the songstress came into play. She seems to have the ability to get rid of Raph's mind control with her singing. Right after this, we end up regrouping with everyone else, and Subaru makes big claims that he'll take back Amelia, save everyone, get Rim's memories back, and kick the witch coat out the city, saying he won't sacrifice not a single person. What happened after this was that Al was informed by Amelia of which archbishops were occupying each tower. She learned this by overhearing Regulus, but she wasn't really concerned about herself, but instead wanted to help Subaru the best she could. She seemed to trust Al to pass over this information, but one thing I will bring up is that he just seems to be in the right place at the right time, which makes you wonder if he has an ability like Subaru or might be a different version of Subaru. After receiving this message, he goes to give Subaru the message, also saying how he believes Subaru should just forget about all this and just go save Amelia, but Subaru declines. Here is where we see Subaru's speech. After being hyped up to do it, he ends up maxing out his charisma, giving hope to everyone in the city and telling them all to leave the rest to him, telling them to believe in him and fight in their own ways, saying that they'll wipe out the witch coat and save the city. I really liked this speech, but this broadcast ended up telling both Otto and Reinhardt where they are, and here's where the true plan came into action. Subaru and Reinhardt would be handling Regulus, Raph would be left to Priscilla and Liliana, the two Witchcoat members would be left to Wilhelm and Garfield, Otto and Feltzgroup would end up running into one of the Gluttonies, Julius and Ricardo would be left with the other, and lastly Al and Anastasia would run into Lust. Starting with Subaru, he and Reinhardt busted in during Amelia's first wedding. Their plan was to cover each other's weaknesses. It was a ceremony with Regulus and all his wives where he told Amelia he forbid her of expressing emotions altogether. Amelia didn't share these same views, saying she'll never be his and that the person she'll fall in love with will most likely be Subaru. So you already know she was happy when he came to save her. Starting this fight, Reinhardt hit Regulus with the biggest disrespect, saying his sword that was passed down judged Regulus to not be a worthy opponent. This obviously pissed Regulus off so much that he threatened to hurt all his wives to get a free hit on Reinhardt. Here I genuinely thought Reinhardt was killed, but nah, this guy's just so overpowered he gets right back up and lands a devastating blow on Regulus. We find out a few seconds later that he actually did die, but he has a blessing that can revive him. Just like Reinhardt, it turned out that Regulus wasn't dead either, so from here on out they tried to come up with a way to undo his invincibility. After going through multiple plans that failed miserably, and Reinhardt being sent to the literal moon, Subaru finally found out that his wives were the source of his power. His ability Little King allows him to transfer a part of his heart into his wives, letting him stop time whenever he pleases. Without their help, his power puts a heavy strain on him, which is the reason he got so many wives, so it wouldn't hurt him. They ended up countering this by having Emilia freeze all of his wives, stopping their hearts, and Subaru got rid of Regulus's last heart in Emilia. With this, Reinhardt came down from the literal moon and beat Regulus into the dirt. That was it for that fight, but the next fight we have is Priscilla and Liliana versus Raph. Here we find out that Priscilla can transfer damage done to her belongings, given to her by her husbands. Here we see again that Priscilla can truly fight, and we get the whole backstory of Liliana. A short breakdown is that she was traveling with her family doing music, then decided to go on her own, where she found out just how tough life was. At first it wasn't working out, but towards the end of her journey she found out how to truly make music people want to hear and was found by Kiritaka. She honestly carried this fight by carrying everyone Raph had brainwashed, which allowed Priscilla to beat Raph and capture her for questions later. As for Wilhelm and Garfield's fights, Wilhelm ended up getting help by Reinhardt to cut his wife down, which he didn't want, but ended up getting to talk to his wife one last time. Right before this happened, we got to see how she became the Sword Princess, how she didn't actually want the role and was forced to fight. We also see exactly how she lost her blessing against the White Well, and that Pandora was the reason she was still alive now. Now for Garfield's fight, this was a one-sided beatdown where he couldn't even get Kurgan to see him as a worthy opponent and draw his weapon. It wasn't until he was in front of his siblings that he had to lock in, getting rid of all his fear and going toe-to-toe with a full-strength Kurgan. This fight ended with Garfield winning and earning his respect. Al's fight versus Lust was just him setting a trap that didn't work, and Lust eventually giving up, saying she got what she wanted. Before she left, she told them how even if she was dead, the dragon blood that was affecting both Subaru and Krush wouldn't go away. Also bring up that here Al said that this wasn't the true Anastasia because the real one was incapable of using magic, which she used before. Let me know your theories on that in the comments, but the last two fights were against the Gluttony brothers. Otto Felt and Beatrice ended up working together to almost defeat Lai, who was stealing names left and right. The reason Beatrice was back up and moving was because of the mana crystals supplied by Al. Again, he's a little shady, but with the help of this, Felt's weapon she said could even hurt Reinhardt, and the fact that Felt wasn't her real name, which caused Lai to guess wrong and make himself sick, they almost defeated him. This would have saved Rim and all of his other victims, but he ended up getting bailed out by his older brother and sister, and they left on their own. Beatrice let them go because she was running out of mana crystals, since she needed the last one to revive Puck. As for the last Gluttony, he was being fought by Julius and Ricardo. He was 2v1ing them with ease, and here we see that Roy most likely ate Julius's brother Joshua, which is why he knew every single one of Julius's moves. After this fight, we see that he ended up eating Julius's name as well, but fortunately he was still moving, unlike Rim. This was absolutely a crazy shock and a wild way to end the season. The last things that happened was that everyone regrouped. Emilia volunteered to freeze the victims who were turned into flies until they found the cure. They questioned Raph but didn't get much value, and it being announced that the city was saved. If you enjoyed this recap and want to see more like it, you can let me know by liking the video, subscribe, and watch another.